This is breaking down the Bible, the Hebrew scriptures. Well, this is Hebrew questions and answers. So I like to start by saying, do you believe in the book? And do you believe in the scriptures? So I understand a lot of you guys got questions, and a lot of the information out there is pretty much scattered out there. I get that. And I don't do a lot of PowerPoints and teachings on YouTube because of what Yah has me doing. I'm building a lot of different things, but I will be releasing some more information out to you. There are a couple of people out there that I do look at and I think would be a viable solution. But then again, there's not very few that will go out and build this information, gather it, and give it to you. And I really mean that. There's not many. There's just few. Depending on what doctrine they're looking at and what they're using, but the book is good enough. And you got to look at the etymology behind the book and go back to the original words and see what they really mean. That requires work. And a lot of you, let's just be honest, you're not going to do it. Sometimes you have to pick up the book and read it yourself. And a lot of times, some of the camps or some of the teachings out there want to be A1 experts at the book. Well, I hate to tell you guys, a lot of you guys just do not hold the Ruach HaKodesh. You need the Holy Spirit inside of you to guide you in order to do that. When you sit out there on those street corners and yell and scream and perplex these people, that book does not tell you to do that. It might tell you to be bold as a lion, but it doesn't tell you to hunt like one. So, unless you're going after the evil. But some of you are confused between the so-called white man and the so-called black man, and this Esau is the white man, and your international relationships and who are the people of the book. So I have these teachings that are coming out, and I have not released a lot of my teachings. I have a lot of teachings I have not released because Yah has me doing something in addition to this. So when I get chance to do that, I will release more of them. However, a lot of the time when you look at certain aspects of things, you want to make sure you're releasing teachings that's corresponding to what you've done down your recent studies and then your recent relinquishing process, because you just don't want to throw anything out there, because I'm accountable for what I give you guys. So I just don't give you anything. And I take my time when I teach. Okay, so I don't jump on YouTube a lot. I do scurry around, look for things that that interest me, but I'm not on there 24/7 dishing out a bunch of videos, because it's not my time yet. So he will let me know. So for this particular teaching was Yeshua HaMashiach, a black or white man. So a lot of you probably don't even know the difference between black and white and why this is such a big deal. Okay, so I'm countering this and with a certain process so you can understand what I'm doing. Now, the question is, was Jesus the Christ a black or white man, or a so-called black or white man? If I divulge into certain etymologies and then just go straight into certain vernaculars and in a different tongue, it does this teaching no good. So if I'm speaking on a 10, if we have a scale from 1 to 10, and then I take it to a 20, 30, and 40, and you're on level 1 and 2, it makes no sense for me to do this. So I got to build at the ground floor. I got to speak at the ground floor. And then sometimes I have to speak in the middle and then advance. And then some of you guys have to just stop laying down and get up and do some of the research yourselves. Okay? I don't have a problem teaching and releasing. I got a problem with you not going back and checking behind my words. I could be telling you something wrong. I don't want you to just sit up here and listen to me. I want you to go and check me out. See if I am lying or is my work validated. So here, we're going to talk about this and we're going to move through it because I don't want to be here a long time and stay on this because I need you to go back and look behind my work. So the first one that we come to is Daniel 7:9 through 10. 9 says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. 10. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands and thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. See, a lot of you guys use different analogies when the book is pretty much straightforward for discernment. So there's many different ways I could take that text and then take you into it and make sure I involve your thinking process. But like I said, I got to keep this short in order to get the message over to you because there's a lot of stuff in this slide by itself that would throw you off. So now I'm going to go to Chiseon 1 and 14 and 15 because this is a lot of the area where a lot of people are getting into and associating, identifying what Yeshua HaMashiach or Yahshua HaMashiach, you know, you guys are so vocabulary challenged about the name, but what about the Spirit? What about the Holy Spirit? Because if I talk to you in French, you're not going to understand me in English. If I talk to you in Japanese, you're not going to understand me in English. If I talk to you in different dialects of what it meant as it was taught from years ago, it's a different language but means the same thing. So you guys can word fight all you want. So we move on to 14. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as flame of fire. Again, his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as flame as fire. I did some things in these slides that you're about to see coming up. 15. And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burn in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Okay, so what I did was I didn't use the color white, I used the color dark. And then in the right hand corner, I use some more because a lot of the time you guys use white sheet. Well, I'm using a dark sheet. So if I am up here in the left hand corner, that's a bag of woolly hair in common terms. And then over here on the right, that's a sheep grazing. And then I go back over to the left. He's looking at you all crazy. And I'll go to the right. I'm looking at brown sheep, red sheep, or ruddy sheep. That's a ruddy sheep, as in red. So I'm giving you some visuals on what some of these things look like, so you can understand and in your head that if this was to turn a matter of a different color or complex, it's still a curled, rough looking hair. Now, what we're dealing with is a color tone and a mental mindset of racial bias. Because when you look at black and you look at white, I can easily tell you that there are no black people. There are no white people. They're so called that because those are identifications. What if I told you black is a status and white is a status? Would you look it up? You got to understand that this Christianity thing has played a mind trick on you so bad that you won't even allow yourself to get out of the actual matrix that your mind is set in. So what I did here is I went through the terminology of black. Since a lot of you like to fight light colors, I went to the darker colors. And I want to tell you is in Old English, that's how they spell black, B-L-A-E-C. It was known as absolutely dark. So when you look at it, it's a little different. Absorbing light, the color soot. And these are, different angles of black and then different examples. So you need to understand that in earlier times, they had a certain pattern of talking. And then when you look at the English patterns, you need to understand that English is a mutt. And what I mean by English is a mutt, you have all different types of languages that are in English. But a lot of the foundation for English is built off of Latin, Spanglish, German, French words. And then some of them are just totally made up. So yes, your English language is not pure. So get over it. So going back to where it says absolutely dark, right at the top line, absorbing all light, the color soot or curl from Proto-Germanic. There you go, Germanic. Black is burnt, source also of Old Norse blackar, dark. So it was known as dark, it wasn't known as a color. So you have to understand Old High German, blah, black, Swedish, black, ink, Dutch, blacken to burn, from pie, leg to burn, gleam, shine, flash. This source also of Greek, phlegon, to burn, source Latin, flagra, to blaze, glow, burn, from roots, bell, to shine, flash, burn. These are just examples. So moving on, in the same root or etymology in Old English, black meant bright and shining and glittering and pale, depending on who you talk to or depending on the mindset of this thing. And then all the notions that perhaps fire, bright, burn, dark. So Old English word for black was swart. You got to see swart for the preface of that. And according to the OED and me, it is often doubtful whether BLAC, black, Blake, means black, dark, or pale colors, wine and livid. This came from etymology, okay, online. But what I wanted to look at this was the use of dark-skinned people was just the use of dark-skinned people in Old English. That's what they were called, dark-skinned people. When you look at different aspects of what black people are, it is definitely a business. When I tell you people are businesses and companies and corporations, when they give you black business, that's what you are. You're a certain status. This is why you can go and change your license to white, because it's a status. It's not a skin color, but you've been, processed so much, indoctrinated so much, delusioned so much. This thing is way before we were all born, a lot of us. And that's how you know it to be. And you say this black person over here, you just call this man or this woman a black corporation, a black company. That's what you did. That's what you just called them, because child, person, and kid are commonly known as the human person or the human being or the naturalized person, and they use trickery on this. So when you say child, that's a company and corporation based on your birth certificate and or your legal fiction, which they are allowed to lie to you. That's why police can lie to you, and they don't even know what they're saying half the time because they're trying to contract with you. Contracted mean a lot of times they're trying to give you a ticket or arrest you and throw you in jail. Those are contracts. So the next time someone asks you to give them your license or give you a speeding ticket, you said, hey, is that an order? Because that's what you should be doing. It's all contracts and commerce. So just like the drive-through, you roll down your window and stop fighting these police out there, and you take their order and you send them a bill. A lot of you are going to get what I'm saying. A lot of you are not. All right. So this etymology was used for the dark-skinned people in Old English. So I'm continuing on with the adjective for this because a lot of times people like to shout this out. A lot of times you don't really know what the black term means in legal fiction realm, but when your legal status of black, a lot of people don't want to be black because it's a status, and then a lot of people think it's the color of your skin. Well, black is not the color of your skin, it's the color of your clothes. It's what you paint with. Things around you are black. You are a man or woman. You are of a nation. So that's what you should be. Okay, also the meaning is also fierce, terrible, wicked. From the late 14th century, the figurative senses often come from the notion of without light. So that's how the court system currently sees you guys, without light. You're wicked. You need to be punished. Even though we know in the book it says your heart is very, very wicked, and that's how you have to learn to control it, because without the laws we would not have known sin. So you got to go back and look at that. Moral or spiritual, and here we go again. And why would they corral this in here, trying to bypass what it really means? And that's why I'm breaking it down for you. A lot of you are going to get it. A lot of you got to go look it up. You got to go back through it and then come with the intelligent questions, and then I will dig down into that as well. Moral or spiritual, you're without light. There's nothing in you. But we know if you are, Yahuda, Yahudim, or modern terms, Israelites or Israelites, Hebrew or Hebrews, you would know that the light, you are supposed to be the light. The light should be in you, but you know that you were snatched away from your heritage back in Jeremiah because of disobedience and breaking the covenant of your forefathers and mothers. So that's what really happened. In Latin, Niger had many of the same figurative senses: gloomy, unlucky, bad, wicked, malicious. That's what you are in the legal system when they call you black. So in today's current times and associated, you will be hated. Okay? Following after Yeshua HaMashiach, you will be hated. You can't go off these women minister pastors and these current pastors that are so loved. Jesus the Christ was loved, but was hated by many. So if you look at the correlation of who he was and what was going on and what's going on now, you should be able to discern that very quickly with these over glorified pastors that won't even teach you about the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, being baptized in the name of Jesus the Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. They won't tell you that. They won't tell you the true Sabbath day, or if they do, they'll gloss over it and then they'll keep collecting your money. A lot of you don't even realize that when you go to these Christian churches and you give them your money, you need help, they won't help you. They help themselves. That's what it's designed to do, to pay back the loans. So a lot of you, underclass or what you call poor people, go and give your all to these churches, and they take and give it right back to basically the Roman Catholic, Greek Orthodox associations. Yes, Greek and Roman is still there. They're still controlling a lot of this stuff. So you don't even see they're stealing from the poor and giving to the rich when you go into these churches. And they all laugh at you and watch you suffer, because that's exactly what they want you to do. Suffer. Suffering in legal premise means you could do something about it. And you can. Stop going to these churches. You need to come out of them. Doesn't the book say, come out of her, my people? And especially when you're in these cities, there's a lot of wicked gluttonous in these cities for fiat currency that doesn't really amount to nothing. The only thing that is real money currency is silver and gold. That's it. Okay, because back in the day, your word was your bond. So now they made bonds on paper, and they basically charge you for them when you go into these wicked courts. And a lot of you don't know that you need to stop entering in these courts as a defendant. You need to put it on paper. You're no longer entering these courts as defendant, and enter the court as a man or woman, and let them know that's the only way you're going to appear, as a man or woman. You don't put in there defendant. You don't put in there plaintiff. Okay, who are you defying? Okay, you're entering to another ministry when you go into these courts. They're all ministries. They're all Christian ministries. Look at the last slide in this particular teaching, and you should get this. I say these things for a reason. Okay, so the metaphoric use of the Greek in 3189, a word was melis. Okay, however, tended to reflect the notion of shrouded in darkness and overcast. In English, it has been the color of sin. Do you understand me? I went on a rant, and now I'm back. And here I'm telling you the same thing this is about to tell you. In English, it has been the color of sin. Do you know in your current Christian legalities, churches right now, you're the color of sin if you're black, if you're dark? Wow. That's just amazing when he takes over. And when I mean he, I mean the Ruach, I mean Yah. At least since the century of 1300, the sense of with dark purposes and malignant emerged 1580s. In the black art necromancy, it is also the sense in black magic. Black flag flown, especially by pirates. Here's some more examples as a signal of no mercy. Is from 1590s. Black dog, melancholy. This is melancholy, attested from 1826. However, it is also shown sometime around the 15th century from pale to dark. Yes, at one time black was considered pale. Who are currently pale now? you got to understand they're playing on words here, guys, and witchcraft and deception. So Hebrews 7:838 is shakor, which is dark, but in English it means black, but in the tongue it simply means dark. Okay, in Hebrew it's in front of you, NAS is in front of you, the KJV is in front of you, and INT is in front of you, and you can see the different plays on words. Look at the different plays on words. It's crazy. This is why you have to go back and look this information up, because a lot of it is not going to make sense until you look it up, put the time in, decipher the words, discern the words, put them back together, and let your Holy Spirit run through this and help you cash the knowledge in. So here is a popular TV show, and I'm using it under fair use rights. Some of you know it, some of you don't. That's okay. But here, if you grew up in the 80s and the 70s, you know you've seen this one here, and his name is Michael from Good Times, and basically he's going to be getting into it with his mom, and I'll talk some through it, and then I'll throw some stuff here and there, a little line upon line, precept upon precept. So let's get into it for a little bit.
Mama, couldn't we at least let Black Jesus hang alongside?
See how quick she turned around and said, when he said Black Jesus alongside? That's a little crazy the way she reacted, but again, you know, this is acting. But a lot of times when you grow up in these particular arenas, you know that that's the only one that you know was this particular Jesus. But again, look at this Jesus and then see if he's the one with woolly hair. And we're gonna go ahead and play this.
Forget it. The only Jesus I know is him, and the one thing he don't need is a partner.
She's absolutely right. Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus Christ, doesn't need a partner, because this is the only one she grew up. And if you grew up in the 60s and 70s and 80s, you know that that was the Jesus that they portrayed. But what you don't know is that Jesus is Caesar Borgia. He's actually a lover of Michelangelo, one of those butt buddies. He's a homosexual.
Mama, how do we know Jesus wasn't black? He could have been from the lost tribe of Israel.
Here again, you know, this actor is portraying the simple facts that are missed. And again, if you grew up in the 80s, you know this show called Good Times. He's right on the money.
They were supposed to be black.
I bet they were. If ever people were lost, we're it.
There you go again. Somebody did their homework. The lost tribe, but you know that you were separated from your history due to the disobedience. That's in Jeremiah.
Now just hush up, both of you. This picture has been in my family for as long as I can remember.
And that's true. A lot of times that this particular picture is all around the Catholic churches and especially Baptist churches in the South where I grew up at. And this picture is a false picture. You've been idolizing and worshiping a homosexual. And your pastor's not going to tell you that either.
When I was a baby, I don't know what I saw first. My mama, my papa, or this Jesus.
That's true in the South.
Now he's the one I know and love.
And you see, that's the one that she knows and loves, and that's popular among Christians because that's what's been portrayed upon you back in slavery days. So that's what you know, and that's what was pushed on you was Christianity. You know, if you didn't accept Christianity back in the day, they just killed you because they wanted you to worship those idol gods.
So let's close the subject. Jesus was black, the Bible would have said so.
But it does say so.
What are you talking about?
And the Bible does say so. Again, this is so-called black. This is reaching out to you because this is the etymology of words of what you understand. If I spoke in German English is a little crazy because they use different types in that. They use different types of words. They also use something called Spanglish, and then you have something called French in English where you go back and forth and use these different words and you don't understand until you find out what it is. But if I just spoke to you in raw Chinese, Japanese, or Spanish, and you didn't understand what these words are, it would sound very different to you. But again, this is wordplay. The word black is used instead of the word shapur, okay?
I read about it. It's in Revelations chapter 1, verse 14. I read about it in Muhammad Speaks. It says, his hair is like wool, and his eyes are like flame of fire.
Well, Lord have mercy.
And this is a reaction to a lot of Christians when they start realizing they've been lied to for so many years, 20 and 30 years in these churches. I mean, like I said, if you go back to my other teachings, I was in these churches for 20-something years. I was a Christian. In addition to that, you got to understand that that's where I grew up teaching Sunday school, and then I was indoctrinated versus being, learning for myself and being taught and then trained to do certain things. And then there's a lot of times I found a lot of errors in that book and the way they did things, especially being from the South.
It sure do say that, don't it?
And see, Mama, look at that hair, like wool, ain't it? And look at them eyes, red like fire.
Yeah, they sure is. Junior, how come you decided to paint this?
I don't know. All of a sudden, I just had divine thoughts on my mind.
And for JJ, that's a first.
What, having divine thoughts?
No, having a mind.
Well, that's just the way that was going there. But anyway, my sister and brother battled and forth, but the bottom line is that a lot of you don't even know.
I guess I ought to be grateful for JJ having Jesus on his mind in any color.
Then we can hang him on the wall, Mama?
Well, now,
Please, Mama.
All right. But just for Black History Week. After that, he comes down.
Which is sad, because after your Black History Week, he comes down because she's still stuck in Christianity. So, but I wanted to show you that. That's out there on the internet as well. And those are some of the things that you can look at. And we're back to this photo here. So, in the slide. And you just saw the little movie clip. I talked a little bit through it, but I just wanted to show you how stubborn you can be when new information is introduced to you. Okay? So, again, those are braids in the upper left-hand corner here. And this man has head and hair white like wool. And a lot of you do a lot of different crazy stuff as well in reference to this. And I saw a bunch of teachings on this in reference to some aspects of what it really is. Okay, so I'm showing you the early, current, right? This is early back in the 80s. And you have here in the left when they were whitewashing it, trying to change the Egyptians, because the slaves were definitely Israelites. And here there's a lot of depictions where in the bottom they started whitewashing and trying to change everything to light, but it's these skin colors are dark. There's no way around it. Okay, the skin colors are dark, and the Israelites were slaves unto the Egyptians, and even the Egyptians know this. So again, this is just another depictions of the slaves, what they look like, and then they started whitewashing up here, trying to make them look different. Okay, and there's only one color that you can get many colors from, and that's the color black or dark. Colors can make many different colors. A lot of you know from the TV and timepiece that this president here out of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, okay, he tells it like it was, and a lot of times you see it on the Time magazines out there on the internet as well, that they will never be accepted because they know the true slaves that they had back in the day were Shakur, or what you might call in today's English terminology, so-called black. And then he said it basically, you came back white and you will never be accepted. That was back in 1952. Well, we're only in 2018. So look at the difference, guys. It's a play upon words. So let me ask you something. A lot of you don't even recognize the things that are set before you in today's matriarchal society. Back in the 40s and 50s, it was patriarchal, and the book is a patriarchal book because Adam was not deceived, but Eve was. And you need to understand that most of the information that's in front of you, you need to learn to discern. But why is it that everybody else have a nationality and the so-called black people have a color? And your history is of pain and deceit, and you don't really understand that this 400 years is your torment here locally versus the United States, because it wasn't just 400 years. You've been in slavery for a long time, brothers and sisters, if you're Israelites. You didn't just start 400 years ago. Your history of America is one thing, but it surpasses that. But my question is what do you call people from China? Is there a color in the crayon book? Is there a color in the coloring book? Yes, there's a crayon book, but different colors. But a lot of you are so used to the crayon box. So we'll use that. What color is this in the crayon box? There isn't one. So what do you call the guys from Japan? Japanese, of course. So what about from Korea? You call them Korean, right? So why is it that every other nationality have something they can hold to, but you, the so-called black people or people of color, you shouldn't be of color, you should be of a nation. Think about what I'm saying. So the answer to whether Yeshua Mashiach was black or white should be obvious by now. If not, go back and review this teaching and this video. This is to get you to think, okay? The so-called black man and or Jew equals not. Okay? Known as Jesus the Christ or Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay, so for those who are not getting what I'm saying, is the so-called black man and or Jew, not known as Jesus the Christ or Yeshua HaMashiach or Hamashiach, was not what exactly? He was not a Jew or Jewish. It's just that simple. Okay? He was not black. He was not white. He was not Ashkenazi Jew or Palestinian Jew, whatever that term, wherever that came from. He was, and still is, Shakur Yahudi. So the so-called blacks or black Americans or persons or man or whatever you want to call yourself, you're Shakur. You're dark. You're a dark Yahudim. Yeshua Mashiach was Yahudim. He wasn't Jewish. He wasn't a Jew. Okay? He was a man. He was a Shakur man. I know a lot of you like to say, oh, well, what about Tupac Shakur? Well, Shakur, with the K-U-R, when you look at the etymology of Tupac Shakur, takes on a different realm, but it has a similar etymology. But when you break it down, it means dark god. So Shakur in some premise can mean dark or black, so-called. So in today's English, you don't want to be a status of black. When you call yourself black, you are lessening yourself in this legal system. Okay? And a lot of you out there on the street yelling and screaming at these people, the book doesn't tell you to do that. I think in an earlier teaching, I called some of you, a bunch of Hebrew Christians because you acted like Christians. There's nothing in the book or the Bible about a Hebrew Christian. Hebrew Christian does not exist, just like a black man does not exist. It has the same terminology. Okay, you can't defend Hebrew Christian biblically. It's just no way. Use logic when you come to this channel. There's no such thing as a Hebrew Christian. I call those on the corner Hebrew Christians as a logical term because they want to be Hebrew and they're doing Christian stuff. That's why I call them Hebrew Christians. So if the term was made up before me, that's fine. I just echoed it. And I echoed it from a logical premise, not a biblical premise, because it cannot be defended. Can I defend it from a logical premise? Yes. I can defend it from a logical premise, but I cannot defend it from a biblical premise. It will not work because there's no such thing as a Hebrew Christian. They don't go together. Okay? It just doesn't work. So that's where Hebrew Christian came from. If you heard it, it did come from my channel as well. And I went into a rant and used that term because you want to be Hebrew, then you want to be Christian. You want to be hot or you want to be in the middle. But let me tell you, the book says you're hot or cold, right? You need to pick a side. That's why I'm calling you Hebrew Christians. You need to pick a side. You're either hot or you're cold. You're either one or the other. You can't be in the middle with this thing. It doesn't work. So that's what you are. And no, it cannot be defended. There's no such thing as a Hebrew Christian. I identified those as Hebrew Christian, okay? I identified. It was my opinion, not from the book, okay? Just that simple. Now to check you for learning. So in this teaching, was Jesus, Yeshua Mashiach, a black or white man? I think we got that. You should have gotten that. Now, I want you to go back in the book and I want you to look up who said I am dark and comely. I also want you to go look up where in the book does it say that Judah mourning and they are shakur into the ground. Now I'm using terms that you just learned. So it shouldn't be hard for you to identify what I'm trying to get you to do. I used this on a couple of slides and I did a teaching on do you know who you are and a big secret, the chosen people. The bottom line is when you look at a priest or minister in their garb and you look at a judge, you should understand that you're going into the same venue. They're both stealing your money. That's their only premise, is to steal your money. Okay? So if you're a man and you are facing difficulty in the courts, it's simply because you're going in with an attorney or lawyer. Look up the word attorney and lawyer. It means to turn you over. They have no allegiance to you. Their allegiance is to the crown. Look up a turn. It's to turn you over to the government. It means to take your property and to give it to somebody else. That's their job. That's a lawyer's and attorney's job. Look up attorney. Look up the word attorney. Okay? Look it up. That's why some attorneys and lawyers, they're at the law because they can't practice law. A lot of people, not black people, you are people. You're one of the people, and you are a man or woman when you go to these venues known as quasi courts. This is why you lose, because you walk in there as a defendant. You have to put paperwork in. I don't care if you're going divorce, child support, traffic tickets. It's all the same, all the way down to criminal. Stop walking into these courts as a defendant. Write something at the top called notice. Status, I, man, will only appear as a man. Sign it, put it in. Stop appearing in these courts as a defendant. That's what you're doing. But the word of Yah has to be in your heart, because you're dealing with Christianity and you need to be able to rebuke Christianity from these terms. These are ministries that you're walking into, guys. Look at how the European does. They have a defense ministry. They have different types of ministries. What do you think you're walking into when you walk into the United States? I told you the United States venues are what? They're ministries. You tell them that you don't want to be part of their ministries because they're ministries. That's all they are. When they lord over you, and the word lord, L-O-R-D, means bow, B-A-A-L, equivalent to Satan, the Hazatan. Guys, rewind this video. I told you Yah has me doing a lot of different things. Wake up, Israel. Wake up, people. Wake up, man and woman, and stop talking to these public officials as a father, a mother. You're a dad and you're a mom. Stop calling your children children when you speak to public officials. They're your property. And for men, you need to know that the law is patriarchal. They just made it matriarchal. When you're paying child support, you're paying for your own property. You let them know that that's your property and they're putting you in, in servitude. They can't do that. But you allow them to do that. Look, in the book, in the Hebrew scriptures, when you're getting a divorce, the woman goes away with nothing. I know in today's matriarchal society they want half, but they're entitled to nothing. So you let them courts know that you know who you are. You are the priest of your home. You have your own ministry because you do. The book says you're a priest. And you don't want them in your private affairs. You put that into the court. And if they continue, you slap a bill on that judge, on those lawyers. No lawyer can stand before a man because they're going to have firsthand knowledge or affirmation and standing in court. They don't have it. So you let that other attorney know who's trying to take from you. If you have an attorney in a current legal situation, you fire them unless you can get them under a 56. of Form 56. So you fired them and you ran into the court. You let that executive administrator you're calling a judge know that you know who you are. They're not going to be administrating your property without right. And that's basically what it is. So men, you need to gird up like in Job and take back your rights. I don't care. Divorce, child support, credit cards, all of it. It's all administrative. All of it is administrative. Those people are currently in jail. It's all commercialized. The whole court system is commercialized. Know your rights. Okay, so officerwolfline.com. Okay, like us. Okay, subscribe. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thanks.